Disco did not slowly fade. On July 12, 1979, a baseball team in Chicago turns a radio joke into a bonfire ritual. And by the end of the night, people swear they watched a whole genre die between innings. That story is tidy. It is also incomplete. If you are standing outside Comiskey Park that evening, the first thing you notice is the price. 98 cents gets you in if you bring a disco record to destroy. Cheap enough for teenagers, cheap enough for people who mostly came for the stunt, cheap enough to pack the place with a mood nobody can fully control. The man helping light the fuse is Steve Dahl, a local rock DJ with a fresh grudge. He has just lost his job after his station flips formats and starts playing disco. He builds a new on-air persona around mockery, revenge, and a tribe of listeners who feel shoved aside. That matters because disco is already carrying more weight than music should. A few years earlier, it means release. Clubs, mirror balls, long mixes, bodies moving until morning. For gay dancers, black audiences, Latino crowds, women who want the room for themselves, disco offers space, style, and a pulse that says stay a while. Then the money arrives. Fast. Record labels chase the sound. Movie soundtracks explode. Department stores sell the look, and suburban America gets a version trimmed for mass comfort. Once Saturday Night Fever hits, disco stops living only in clubs. It spills into malls, weddings, sitcom jokes, and novelty singles. That kind of success creates backlash almost on schedule. Rock fans hear sameness. Radio programmers flood playlists. Musicians complain that machines and producers matter more than bands. Some of those complaints are real. Some are plain snobbery. Some carry a harder edge that people can hear without naming. By 1979, Disco Sucks is everywhere. It sounds goofy on a t-shirt. It sounds less goofy when thousands of mostly white fans chanted in a stadium, while targeting music linked in the public mind to black, gay, Latino, and female nightlife. The phrase gives a lot of resentments one neat container. The White Sox see a promotional opportunity. Bill Veeck, always willing to stage a spectacle, agrees to disco Demolition Night for a twilight doubleheader against Detroit. Collected records will be blown up in center field. That is the official gimmick. Nobody serious seems to expect history. But radio is very good at manufacturing a feeling of private membership. Dahl speaks to listeners as if they are insiders under attack. He gives them a villain with a beat. You hear that enough in your car, and a silly event starts feeling like a rally. Tickets vanish. Crowds pour in far beyond expectation. Comiskey holds far more than comfort allows. Estimates run near 50,000 inside and many more shut out at the gates. People climb fences. They carry albums they may never have played. Some bring anything with a dance beat. Some just want to belong to the noise. Look closely at what gets tossed into the bins. Donna Summer, sure, the Bee Gees, but also soul records, funk records, even albums by black artists who are not disco in any strict sense. Once the target becomes symbolic, accuracy disappears. That is one of the clearest clues to what is actually happening. The first game unfolds under a strange pressure. Fans throw records like frisbees. Some become black plastic saucers, cutting across the stadium lights. Beer keeps moving. Security keeps watching. Players notice the edge in the crowd. You can feel everyone waiting for the between games release valve. Then Dahl rides onto the field in military gear, a jeep circling the outfield. The joke inflated to combat scale. He grabs the microphone and whips the crowd into the chant. The creative record sits in center field like an offering. This is theater, but the audience is already past theater. The explosion itself is brief. A dull thump, dirt jumps, smoke lifts, vinyl fragments scatter across the grass. For one beat, it reads as a successful stunt. Then the field invasion begins. And that is the instant the night changes from promotion to public breakdown. Hundreds become thousands. Fans vault rails and rush the grass. Some dance, some rip up turf, some light fires, some steal bases and wave banners. The scene has that dangerous carnival quality where each person sees license in the behavior of the person ahead of them. The Tigers retreat to the clubhouse. The White Sox do too. Umpires wait. Security loses the scale of the problem almost immediately. Riot police arrive with helmets and batons. You can imagine the smell. Beer, smoke, trampled earth, hot July air, and the chemical tang from the blast hanging over everything. Eventually the field is cleared, but the damage is done. Holes are torn in the turf. Batting equipment is missing. The infield is a mess. The second game cannot be played. So, the White Sox forfeit to Detroit. A promotion meant to fill seats ends as an official surrender recorded in baseball history. That is the surface story people remember, because it plays cleanly. Disco gets blown up, crowd goes wild, genre dies, yet disco records keep selling after that night. Clubs stay open, songs keep charting, artists keep making dance music. The funeral everyone describes is more like a television image. So why does this one night stick so hard? Because it gives a complicated shift a single dramatic frame. Radio fragmentation, market overkill, changing tastes, recession anxiety, rock traditionalism, and cultural prejudice all get compressed into one explosion. It feels satisfying. You can point at center field and say there, that was the moment. And many who watched from outside the rock crowd heard something uglier in the chant. Disco is serving as a stand-in, a code word. Blow up these records and you can tell yourself you are only defending guitar music, while other hostilities move quietly underneath. This is where the story becomes harder to keep nostalgic. Disco has become one of the few mainstream spaces where marginalized communities shape the sound of pleasure for everyone else. Then, almost right on cue, the Backlash markets itself as common sense. It says the party is over. It rarely says whose party bothered them. Even Steve Dahl later insists the event is misunderstood, and intent does matter up to a point. But impact leaves its own paper trail. Photos from the night show anti-disco signs, beside racial caricature, macho costumes, and a mob energy that does not stop to sort Donna Summer from any blackface on an album cover. There is another twist. Disco does not disappear. It mutates. The pulse slides into post-disco, boogie, high NRG, house, and dance pop. In fact, just a few years later, in Chicago itself, black DJs and producers turn drum machines and disco leftovers into house music. The city that stages the symbolic execution also incubates the afterlife. So disco does die in one night. If by disco, you mean the bloated corporate label, the punchline, the mall version everybody is tired of. But the rhythm under it survives, because bodies still want that release. Chicago buries the word in public, then helps the sound sneak back in through clubs, basements, and 12-inch singles. What really dies at Comiskey Park is the illusion that pop backlash is only about taste. Put enough people together, hand them a cheap enemy. And culture starts revealing the things it usually says sideways. One exploding crate becomes permission. Tell me one nostalgic thing nobody talks about anymore.